Come on, the new ones. Let's see. I can tell what the new ones. Let's see. Okay.
Hi, Professor Goswami.
Okay, Ronaldo.
Hi, everyone.
Go ahead.
In my opinion, motivation and fundamental creativity, I believe, comes when you are connected with your archetype and living your dharma. For that, you need to work on what inspires you. And in parallel, you need to practice meditation to develop your intuition more and more and receive more and more creative ideas. We can be inspired and motivated by external factors, and that is very positive. But in my point of view, the most important thing is self-motivation, which comes from within, that is non-local motivation. In your excellent book, Quantum Creativity, you talk a lot about inner creativity, and I completely agree. I believe that is inner creativity comes from our unconsciousness, and that is the key of the 7 eyes of manifestation. That is, you need to develop the ability to access your unconscious. What is your opinion, please?
Okay, I'm glad that you brought up that aspect. Yeah, I forgot to mention it. This is a major aspect of creativity. Look at the unconscious. We talked about the conscious self having the in-between levels of the pre-conscious. So we have conscious ego, then we have I, me, and then we have pure I. But similarly, in the unconscious also, there is personal unconscious, and that has a stuff that Freud called id, which sometimes it's called subconscious, that really puts us down. That's the negative stuff that we have suppressed and depressed, including some of the universal negative emotions that we have brain circuits built. That is also part of the unconscious. We become unconscious of it because we don't pay attention to them. When the cortex develops with a strong ego, then that takes over, basically. So although we might have been conscious of these negative emotions in our childhood, but we lose that. Although we never lose quite the connection with the pleasure circuits. So there is some self-connection there. But, you know, materialists call it unconscious memory. It's a misnomer, but brain cannot be unconscious conscious. There's no division in the brain. Brain is just brain. It's a material object. When consciousness identifies with it, then brain has a conscious self. Now that consciousness is not identifying with it, then all the memories can be called unconscious. Consciousness identifies with it only when collapse occurs. So whenever there is no collapse, it's just the memories. That's the unconscious. Unconscious is certainly memory, personal memory. That's the Freudian personal unconscious. But there is also unconscious beyond that. Carl Jung discovered collective unconscious. We already talked about collective unconscious a little bit. And then there is also the quantum unconscious, higher unconscious, from which really all these creative ideas, the archetypes, for example, they come. And obviously, if we are stuck with the personal unconscious, it's not going to help. We must move beyond. So the getting into the pre-conscious serves you in 2 ways. One is in the conscious processing, it is helping you. That's why we always inspire ourselves before we get into intention, because then inspiration will get us a little bit in the pre-conscious. But similarly, if you are living in the pre-conscious some of the time during the day, this is where meditation comes in. Meditation invariably gets us into the pre-conscious. Then what happens that at night as well, it will be, especially in the time between waking and sleeping, a time of lucid dreaming that is a very, very useful creative time. And we will be in the pre-conscious. And because we will be in the pre-conscious, we can use enormously this creative imagination and play up that with the unconscious. We can really play with it in the sense, I tell you, it's a beautiful process. You know, I just had a lucid dreaming episode just this morning, so it's still vividly in my mind. And what happens is that you're conscious partly. So you're guiding it, you're guiding the thought. And then you were also falling asleep. You really become unconscious. So you're playing the brain frequencies is roughly between 1 to 3 hertz. So this is when we sleep. But then that's delta wave. But 3 to 7 hertz, that's our creative zone. So it plays with it. Lucid dreaming is just a little bit above 3 hertz brainwave, and that's when that's a junction. And if we are at the junction, then we fall asleep, and we also wake up and in that drowsy state, and great for guiding your imagination in that state. Because that's how the brain behaves, and that's how we become very creative in that particular time. Now, people say that any type of transition time, we can make like that. For example, we have a certain circadian rhythm built into our cells. We can also use that cleverly to get into these reveries, even during the waking hours. Once in a while, very once in a while, I have had the experience of creativity in reverie, but I am not particularly tuned to the circadian rhythm. But some of you, if you are, then you can also use that. The other thing that people say, get into the creative part of the unconscious, is when you have the change from day into night. Just like night into day, we have this morning experience, lucid dreaming. Similarly, when in the evening time, when the light is going out, sun is dropping out of our view, and that is a time too. And this may have something to do with the circadian rhythm also, where there is this transition. So these transition times are very good because automatically, because you're partly awake, you can get yourself into the pre-conscious. So automatically, your unconscious will be favorable to you. In deep sleep, what happens is that mainly ego presides over our life, and therefore we mainly process the personal unconscious. This is why the dreams will be mostly mundane. But as your life changes, as you meditate more and change your worldview and get into this creativity with an idea of what your dharma is, you hide the archetypes, make intention, making a regular part of your day, what happens is quite beautiful. What happens is that indeed you will have more and more the president over your unconscious will not be the ego, but will be partly I, me. And you will have, then you begin to, how does that show up? It shows up beautifully by having more and more evocative dreams, archetypal dreams, dreams with a lot of meaning. And the junction is also interesting. Snakes are unconscious also of telling you that you are into changing. So many of you should have snake dreams. Snakes are the symbols of change. It is really true. Why? Because the snakes are the first animal that began to have a brain. Before that, we really didn't have any brain to speak of. We had nervous system, fish has a nervous system, so does amphibians, but not really any brain. Reptiles are the first animal to have a brain. They did not have as powerful a brain as the mammalian brain to have a self. So their brain does not have a self, but this is the transition time from virtually machine-like existence into an existence which now has begun to have a higher level of self, not just a cellular self or a collection of cells self, but a self at the organ level. It's a huge, huge change. So snake dreams are quite common to see. I still occasionally have snake dreams, and then I already know that I need to change in some things that stuck. And then I concentrate on what I'm stuck, and usually it comes to me and I can work on it. Okay, so good. Ronald, you have come, we reminded me of that. Great. Okay, more questions, please.
Thank you.
Okay, another subject.